Well, how many guitars do I really need? That reminds me of the old joke. How many guitars do I need? Just one more. I know a lot of people are on a constant quest to always acquiring new guitars. And I used to have a friend who, played a little bit of guitar, not a whole bunch, had been a lawyer. And he had, I don't even know how many guitars, I can't count. But I know he had at least, I'll give you a partial list, 2 Martin acoustic guitars, 2 Tellys, 2 Les Pauls, a 335, an ES-175, an L5, a PRS, a Strat. At one time he had a SG, a Thunderbird, I don't know if I already said PRS. He had a Taylor, one of those acoustic things, on and on. Tons and tons of guitars. Didn't improve his guitar playing, didn't play for money, just played for fun. But he had this bug of buying different guitars. So for me, the way I look at it is, I want to look at the guitars, or I choose to look at my guitars as tools. And they do specific functions very much if I were a guy in construction or a woman in construction and I have a toolbox. They do specific jobs. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 guitars that I really use, because they each do different things. So, in no particular order, here they are. I was a band director for 31 years, so I went to school. My undergraduate work was at Loyola University in New Orleans, Louisiana. And while I was a jazz major my first year, they had jazz majors study 1 semester of classical guitar, and classical guitarists theoretically studied 1 semester of jazz. So I studied classical guitar and a nylon string guitar and acquired some of those techniques that I still use. So I today don't have a traditional classical guitar, but I have this. This is a Yamaha silent guitar. So from the neck, it looks very much like a classical guitar, about the same width of the neck, nylon strings, but to this time it looks more like a George Jetson guitar. What's cool about it is there's controls in here. You can plug earbuds in and you play and it's only this loud, right? Almost no sound at all. But with the earbuds, it sounds incredible. There are onboard effects, reverb, chorus, sounds like you're in a gigantic cathedral, beautiful sound, volume, tone, and bass. There's an AC adapter you can plug in here, but also a 9-volt battery plug in the back. So if I do a gig where I need nylon string sounds, when I do Latin tunes or bossa novas, this fills that bill. I discovered Eastman guitars about 7 years ago. My first Eastman was an AR371, which is kind of like a Gibson ES-175. Since then, I've been a big fan of the guitars. And as a kid, my first nice acoustic guitar was an Ovation. So please, no hate mail. But the big round back ones, I came up when Glenn Campbell was big. And I got one of those when I went into the Marine Corps. And then 20 years later, I got a new Ovation, the Thin Line Elite. The one that has like 20 different sound holes. Sounds like wood, leaves, inlay. It was a beautiful guitar, very shallow, but sounded terrible acoustically, incredible through an amp. And but I then gave it to my daughter, and I decided I wanted a wooden acoustic guitar where I could sit around and just strum on the porch. I got this guitar. This is an Eastman AC, make sure I get it right. Yeah, AC-OM1. I bought it at a guitar shop in, it's either Covina or West Covina, California, Southern California, called the Fred House. Great little place. If you're from Southern California, great customer service, nice guitars, very knowledgeable staff. And I had like $500 to $600. I went in the shop and this was available. There was a Taylor in the same range. There was a used Breedlove and something else. And I really wanted the Breedlove because I've kind of had a love affair with them for several years, but it didn't click with that guitar. And this just sounded great. I think it was actually the least expensive. And it just works for me. It does the job. It didn't come with a pickup. I had a K&K installed. So you plug it here through where the start button was. There was also not a strap button on the neck. So for a while I used a strap that would hook up here. It ties in, but that was in the way of my hand. So I installed this, and I'm not very handy with tools. I just went on YouTube and there were videos showing you how to do that, and I was able to fix it myself. When I play commercially now, I tend to do just solo gigs by myself. I live in a little small town in southern Arizona, and the music I do kind of tends to lean toward jazz. This is my main go-to guitar. It's an Eastman John Pisano 380. Eastman makes 380, 680, and 880. They look similar. I think the pickups are nicer on the more expensive ones, or maybe the type of wood is different. I don't exactly know. I've not played those. But it's a great guitar. Plays very nicely, really easy to play. Has a beautiful sound. And I really enjoy it. It's not that thick of a body, but it plays really well. Sounds wonderful. So when I have a need for a jazz guitar sound, this is my go-to. If you'd like to hear what this guitar sounds like, I did 2 videos last week. One entitled, Eastman Guitars, Are They Any Good? Part 1 and Part 2. And in Part 1, I went in more depth about this guitar. Part 2, I did sound examples of this guitar. And the next one I'm going to show you, my T59V. This is my other Eastman, my T59V. As you can see, it has kind of a 335 body type. It has Seymour Duncan Antiquity pickups. And it's just a beautiful guitar. 59V, I mistakenly in my last video last week said it was vintage, but I believe the V stands for the finish, like varnish. It's kind of like the old-fashioned antique varnish I think they use on violins. So like to care for this, Eastman says not to use guitar polish, just to spray it lightly with water, wipe it, or a damp cloth and just wipe it off. But this is a great guitar. I love it. These pickups are phenomenal. I had never had Seymour Duncan Antiquities before. I'm a big, big fan. Ebony fingerboard, really, really nice guitar. And this sounds great. I refer to this as my desert island guitar. If I had to, you know, what's the name of this video, how many guitars do you need? If I had to have just one single guitar, or if I had a desert island guitar, this would be it. If I was playing on the neck pickup and roll the tone back, I can get a passable jazz sound. If I have both pickups on, it plays great for blues or for rock. And with overdrive, it still sounds wonderful. Just a really, really great, great guitar. So this is my Eastman T59V. Also, I play in praise and worship bands. This is my guitar that I tend to go with, because it can just kind of cover all kinds of sonic possibilities. This is my last guitar. This is a Nashville Tele, made in Mexico. I bought it, trying to make the story quick. I'd had a Carvin Bolt, which is kind of like Carvin's copy of a Strat. Had it like 15 years ago, never really connected with it. And then about 5 years ago, I was in the LA area. I went down to LA, and they have the NAMM show is in January, the big National Association of Music Merchants. This big trade show, but it's not open to the public. You have to be invited or have a pass. But at the same time as the NAMM show, there's this big guitar show that goes on in the same area. People are selling guitars, but trading guitars. There's all this stuff going on. So I brought the Carvin there, and I was able to trade for this guitar. And I had a friend, again, the guy with all the guitars I spoke of earlier, said, oh, you have to have a Tele. And I'd never really connected with Teles. But I thought, you know what? I don't like this guitar anyway. Let's see what I can do. And then I got this. I had never heard of a Nashville Tele. So it has 3 pickups, kind of like a Strat, but it still sounds like a Tele. And I love this guitar. This is my least expensive guitar. And it would be like, it's my second desert island guitar. I have done a gig where I forgot to bring the other one or something happened, and I use this to do jazz stuff. Even though the neck pickup is single coil, if I just roll the tone back a little bit, it still gets a great sound. I love the maple fingerboard. I love just how easy it is to play, and what a tough, solid chunky guitar. I think Telecasters just could take anything, take an abuse, a beating, and they, kind of like the old commercial, takes a licking and keeps on ticking, for those of you that are old enough to know that reference. I love this guitar. Again, I don't do country gigs, but if I did, obviously this can do country. But it could also, like I said, sit down and do solo gigs where I'm leaning more toward jazz. If I was in a rock band, I could do that. In praise and worship, I've used this a few times. Though I still tend to lean toward the T59V. That's kind of more my go-to guitar. So in conclusion, how many guitars do you need? For me, from a practical basis, I need a jazz guitar. I like to have a semi-hollow, an acoustic, a nylon string. So that's 4. This is maybe my 5th. And it's not that I need to have this, and this could almost fill the void of something else. But I just know there are a lot of people that are some of my favorite guitar players, and you see them play one instrument. You know, they don't have an arsenal of, when they're playing live, they're not switching guitars. One go-to guitar all the time. And I think there's something to be said with that. I know these certain guitars that I spend a lot of time with, the more I spend with them, I kind of feel this affinity with them. And, you know, where others, like the Yamaha silent guitar, where I like it, it's a little more work to play that. It's not as comfortable. Though I enjoy the sound and the job that it can do, it's not as comfortable to play, where this is very comfortable. Or my Pisano, very, very comfortable and very easy to play. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know there are as many opinions about guitars as there are people that play guitars. Hope you found something here of value or that you enjoyed, and just wish you all the best. Enjoy the journey. God bless. Take care.